Hey guys, it's Brad. Well, we got a great special guest today. I want to introduce Nick Metta from Studio Legale Metta.com.
Thank you, yes.
And Nick is a lawyer here in Italy and also with offices in the US. And he specializes in the kind of things that you're probably interested in knowing about. Your website, by the way, is fabulous.
Thank you.
It has more information on it than GPT. It really does. It's a wealth of information that you can just look at. And then when you need help, Nick's a great guy to call. We've known each other for a couple of years now, and I've had occasion to call him a couple times when I had questions, not just for my own case, but also for viewers. And someone had a real specific question I didn't know I can ask Nick, so that's really nice to have. Today we wanted to talk about the 7% flat tax rate because so many people are interested in doing this. So can you give people a basic understanding of how that law works?
Sure, yes. So Italy has decided to encourage people to move to the country, and with some tax programs that are more beneficial, allow you to live in Italy without having to pay regular income taxes. So the 7% in particular is geared towards people who have pension income, who move to a small town in southern Italy, or some small towns that were heavily affected by earthquakes in the 80s,
right,
in Le Marche, Lazio, and Umbria.
Okay.
So if you have not been a resident of Italy, if you have not lived in Italy in the past 5 tax years, you might be entitled to it. So you would need to earn Social Security, you need to collect a pension. In both cases, you would be entitled to it. And even if you have other income, the nice thing about the program is that all the income you have outside of Italy will be subject to only 7% Italian flat tax if you live in one of these small towns. And small town is defined a town that has no more than 20,000 people as a population.
Okay. So it's pretty much all of the southern regions, Calabria, Sicily, Sardinia, Puglia. And then for the more northern parts, still not northern Italy, but the more northern parts, it's Lazio, Umbria, Le Marche. But those towns, and specifically, were towns that were heavily affected by earthquakes. So basically the Italian government for those towns is saying, and people didn't believe me when I said this, you can, if you're willing to live in these towns that have a high risk of earthquakes, we're willing to have you live there and pay less tax to help rebuild the population.
Yeah, so that's one way to put it.
Yeah.
The idea is that unfortunately, when those earthquakes happened about 40 years ago, those towns lost a ton of their population. Right. And they are still struggling to a certain extent to recover in terms of the demographic and the economy.
Right.
So there's not, yes, there is, those are areas that are at a higher risk of earthquake.
And there was also the earthquakes, just so people know, 2009 was L'Aquila, and also in 2015-16 was Norcia. And that's one of the towns that's included in this program. 2016 is just 9 years ago. I was just there. They're still coming back from it. It was a big shock.
Yeah, the whole region of Abruzzo is covered by the program. The whole region. So, yes, because of that, essentially.
The interesting thing that you were telling me earlier was, it's not just little hidden towns. Let's say I'm rich, and I'm not, but let's say I am. I want to live in the Amalfi Coast.
Yeah, so I had a client actually specifically inquiring. He goes, "Hey Nick, I know that I cannot go to a town like Amalfi, Sorrento, but I would really like some nice town. So do you have any suggestion?" And I said, "Why wouldn't you pick Amalfi or Sorrento?" He said, "Well, because they are so prominent, so known, they don't need help from the government." And I said, "Okay, but where did you find this information that they are not included in the program, because they are in Campania, which is a region of the south, under 20,000 people. I said, well, I did my research and I got sources, and I said, well, if you don't mind disclosing the source. I said, well, I asked ChatGPT. I said, okay, let's see, let's do it together. So I started asking ChatGPT, and obviously the paid version. So I expect it to be a bit more accurate. And I asked ChatGPT, and the answer was no, they don't qualify because they are wealthy enough and they have already enough, they're enough popular. I said, well, what did you find this information? Or like, how did you come up with this answer? They said, well, it is not within the reason of the law to help towns that don't need help. And then after I challenged ChatGPT a few times, eventually, actually, ChatGPT agreed that since the law doesn't create any exclusion, you can actually move to Amalfi or Sorrento or some other prominent town, like even Polignano in Puglia, which is very well known and beautiful. You could move to those towns and be within very reasonable distance from international airports. Like Naples is so connected with direct flights to the US.
Right.
Even Bari has a direct flight to the US.
Wow.
So you could actually go to some of those towns. The requirement is strictly being in some of those areas and no more than 20,000 people. That's it.
So the law is the law.
The law is the law.
And if the town fits the population criteria and the region criteria, you should be good to go. But always double check everything. We're in Italy, so
Yes,
double check everything.
Definitely.
Find a good lawyer. So let's talk about, you touched on it quickly, but how many people are actually benefiting from this program?
So in Italy, the Italian tax authorities, Agenzia delle Entrate, yes, the equivalent of the IRS in the US, will issue annual reports with all their numbers, statistics, and I monitor those numbers, and it turns out that it's not even 1,000 people who will apply every year for the 7%. So it's more like between 600 and 900 people a year will go for it, will take advantage of this program.
And that's interesting to me because every single video I do, people ask, is this a 7% town? Is this a 7% town? And and I'm just one guy doing little videos. So many people interested. Worldwide, 600 to 700, 800 people a year total are taking advantage of it. So that makes me question, because I'm a questioning type, why are people opting not to do it? What do you see as the negative side of the 7% program?
Well, some people tell me that they prefer to be in a place where they feel that they have more access to more services and to more lifestyle that is more rounded, more dynamic, and so more services. That's usually what people are looking for. So more areas around Rome or Florence or Milan, Montepulciano. Yes, exactly.
You could do worse.
Yeah. Some people are worried sometimes, especially for the healthcare that they might get in the south, and compared to what you might get in the north. Because if you are collecting a pension, obviously you're not necessarily that young, so you might have an expectation of needing help services.
Absolutely.
More, yeah.
We've needed it already, and people always make jokes about the Italian healthcare, and if you need something, it's going to take you 8 months. My experience, not true at all. We've been very happy. Olivia, my wife, if you've seen my channel, cancer survivor, she's already in a cancer survivors program where they're doing scans every 6 months to make sure she stays healthy. Preventative care, something we don't necessarily easily get in the U.S., certainly not provided by the state. And I've been incredibly happy with the healthcare. I have read that people with means in the south of Italy sometimes will fly, come up to Milan, Grosseto, Pisa for healthcare because it's more abundant, faster.
Yes, and what most people don't talk about is not so much about the universal healthcare that you get in Italy, paid for, but is actually the parallel world of private care that is totally accessible.
Yes.
Meaning, if you wanted to get blood work and you wanted to have it like pronto, instead of having to wait that extra week or so to do it through the public system, there are so many labs, so many within blocks distance.
Yeah.
For 30 euros, you get a full screen blood work within 24 hours.
And I just did this like 2 weeks ago. I went to see a specialist on my own. I had something I wanted to have looked at. He ordered up blood work. I went to the hospital the very next morning. We had the results later that day, 22 euros for the blood work. It wasn't a full screening, but it was a lot. It was 2 pages report, 22, and then my specialist, 120 euros.
That's my copay in the U.S. That's actually less than my copay in the U.S. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
And
so the healthcare is good. So we were talking about the negatives. Let's talk about actual savings. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. Everybody's situation is different. My situation is different from yours. Where I hold my assets. Do I have real estate in the U.S. or don't I? Do I have wealth in the U.S. or is it here? Am I holding a lot of properties here? In general, if I was American, because more than half of my viewers are American, let's just start there. What kind of savings? Let's say I make $100,000 a year, half Social Security and half stock dividends. Walk me through more or less what you think my savings might be.
Okay, so now I'm going to simplify a lot here because it would take us a long time
Simple's
to go
fine.
through it.
We're all good with simple.
Yes. So let's start with the easy part, the Social Security. Italy and the U.S. have a treaty against double taxation. That doesn't mean that you can pick and choose where to pay taxes. Many people think, oh, there's a treaty. I know I pay taxes in the U.S. I don't owe anything to Italy. No, it's not like that. It is the treaty, the agreement between the two countries that tells you where you pay your taxes. And the treaty says that taxes on Social Security must be paid to the country where you live in, where you have your tax residency. Exactly. So you pay taxes on Social Security in Italy. So if you're in a 7% area, you pay 7% on 50,000, we said. So that would be 3,500.
Correct.
And that's for Social Security. For dividends, it's a little bit different. You, in a 7% area, you pay 7% in Italy on 50,000. So once again, 3,500. But then the U.S. also, the treaty says, can tax you on the dividends. Now in the U.S. we have long-term, short-term, and also basically that's the main distinction that we have. So if you get taxed in the U.S., the treaty against double taxation says that you cannot be taxed more than 15% on U.S. dividends paid to a person living in Italy. So if you pay 15% in the U.S., many people think that they can write off that 15% from the 7% in Italy, but that's not correct. It is a flat tax, meaning you pay 7%, you don't get to deduct anything, not taxes that you pay in the U.S. on the same income, not deductions other people are entitled to in Italy, like medical expenses or mortgage interests or other like tax credit for remodeling. You don't get to deduct anything from that 7%.
Okay, so in effect, I'll be paying 7% to Italy and still having to pay my 15% to the United States.
Correct.
So I'll be paying now 22% on my dividend.
On your dividends, yes.
So it's actually going to be more by using the 7% than if I hadn't been a resident and had just paid my 15%.
Correct. So if you do the math and see how much are you saving on your Social Security tax in the U.S. and how much more are you paying on the dividends, you will do the math. And then also you will compare that to the savings of, because you could give up actually your Medicare. So your Social Security could be paid to you in the gross amount if you wanted to, if you gave it up. Most of my clients from the US will actually continue to pay into the system because they think, if I want to go back, I know that it's so expensive to get back into the system if I stop paying. So most people will just continue as a form of insurance.
Right, I got you. Olivia and I are proud to say that we have the very best subscribers on YouTube. Every year we get to meet dozens and dozens of our subscribers here in Montepulciano. When you rent from us at TuskenPalace.com, you not only get the best apartments in town, you get to meet all the people in town that make this a special place. We look forward to treating you like family at TuskenPalace.com. So I've had some people tell me, well, I'm going to go live in Calabria. Well, live in Calabria, but I'm really going to be living at a nice house up in Tuscany, but I'm going to make my residency a little house down in Calabria. Why is that a particularly bad idea to try?
So, and I guess that's the probably majority of the people who are asking for the 7%. A lot of people come up with this concept of buying a home gives them the privilege or the access to the 7% and allows them to live somewhere else though. But actually it doesn't work like that. Like the 7% is a program meant to increase the population of an area that needs more demographic. So if you just buy a home and live somewhere else, unfortunately that's just not going to be enough. Some people will go as far as establishing their residency, their recorded residency in a small town, but live actually somewhere else. But that's very dangerous. That's risky.
In short, they can catch you because unlike in the US, which is overwhelmed and underfunded, the Italian tax authority, who we love, we just want to be clear, we love them, they will catch you because they do have access to what kind of information. How would they get you?
So in Italy, everyone has a codice fiscale.
Right.
It's an Italian social security number,
Right.
tax code. So anytime you do anything in Italy, have a utility bill, buy a home, buy a car, any transaction you make, your ID, which is not as secretive as in the US, because actually is the result of a formula based on your name and last name. So anyone would know it. So anytime you do any transaction, that transaction goes into the Italian tax authorities database. So they track everything about you if they want to. Mm-hmm. And they are investing heavily in AI to cross-reference this information. So if you have a home in the southern region and a home in Tuscany, and you have very high bills in Tuscany, very low utility bills in the south, they can challenge you on why that is. And if you don't have proper answer to explain that difference, they are allowed to audit you and to assess you higher and to disqualify you from the 7% based on a legal assumption of you being, trying to be smart. And basically, what they will do, they will disqualify and ask you for all the money back plus the fines up to 5 years back.
Wow. And are there also like criminal jail penalties?
Yes, there is also, tax filing a false or misleading tax return might lead to criminal charges.
Wow. And you do not want to become somebody's cellmate / girlfriend in Italy. Although it is a great way to learn Italian. So, but maybe not the best way.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
So in the end, back to our 100,000 in mixed income, best case, off the top of your head, what do you think you might save a year in taxes, knowing that you're going to be paying more in dividend, less in Social Security? How much do you think with 100,000 in income you might save by taking advantage of this program?
So, depending on the country where you are, it is. Let's leave for a second on the side what you will pay in your home country.
Yeah.
In Italy, you will save a ton of money because in Italy, on 100,000 of income, let's start with the higher part of that income. The top 50,000 of that income will be taxed at 46%. Mm-hmm. So that would be already 23,000 euros. Mm-hmm. And whereas the lower part of that income will be taxed approximately at 15,000, because the first tax bracket is at up to 28,000. You're taxed 24%, and then from 28,000 euros to 50,000 is taxed at 37% approximately. Mm-hmm. So let's average of 30% between the two. So I would say 15 plus 23, it would be approximately 37,000 versus 7,000. So you would save 30,000 approximately.
Right.
Yeah.
But if 50% of it was dividend income and you're from the U.S., that goes down to...
That goes down to 26%.
Yeah.
From which, so on dividends from the U.S., in Italy, there's no difference if those dividends are long-term or short-term. Many people come and say, oh, but those are short terms in the U.S. Okay, but that's the U.S. tax code.
Mm-hmm.
In Italy, there is not such a separation of tax classification. So any dividend or capital gains will be taxed at 26%. And if you pay the 15% withholding tax in the U.S., that can be deducted from 26%. Okay. So you pay 11% effectively.
Okay.
In Italy.
So there can be a sizable tax savings.
There might be a sizable tax savings also because the 7% will exempt you from wealth tax and wealth assets reporting. So you don't have to spend time on your consultant reporting your brokerage account, bank accounts overseas, real estate, and also you will not pay wealth tax on your real estate or dividends or brokerage account and all of that.
Right. So I've been working on my taxes, and I can tell you, the wealth tax, as you well know, is 0.2% of the value, book value of whatever you're holding. Let's say it's just a brokerage account. Keep it simple.
Yep.
If you have $1 million in your brokerage account, more than likely you're going to owe about a 2,000 euro or dollar. It'd be in euros. You have €1 million in your brokerage account. You would owe 2,000 euros for the year in the wealth tax. My feeling has always been, if you have millions and millions in your brokerage account, 0.2% isn't a deal breaker.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally worked very hard for 40 years. I know you can't believe it looking at this, but I really did work hard for 40 years. I'm hitting 60 very soon, and I only got 20 years left. I want to live where I want to live, and I understand that people are pressed and they want to save money on taxes. But I also feel that the people that are really pressed are not going to be bringing in that much income and won't have that much benefit from moving to these small towns. I also personally think that a lot of people don't realize when you're not in a well-connected area, not necessarily just in Tuscany, Umbria, wherever it is, there's an expense. If you're in a small town, you have to go to the grocery store just 45 minutes away, 30 minutes away. Your town store is going to be much more expensive. You're going to have to travel to see doctors, all sorts of stuff. It's more expensive to get there unless you're lucky enough, like your family, to come from Bari and have 35-minute drive and you can fly to JFK, which I didn't even know about, and I think I know everything, at least for travel. So that's amazing. But 600 to 800 people a year, I think it's something that everyone should really, really look at very seriously. And a good first starting point is to work with someone like Nick. At the very least, get on Nick's website, Legale, Metta.com. I'll put it right up here. And check out the basic information. Mm-hmm. And then if you do have a lot of assets, there's all sorts of stuff Nick and I were talking before we started filming that I didn't even know I could do here that'll probably save me a ton of money. So it's worthwhile. All right, guys, well, you get the idea. As always, look into everything 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. Don't just trust ChatGPT to give you the right answer. You really should get some professional help. Like I said, it's been nice for me to be able to contact Nick. Now, we're friends. We met a couple years ago on a PBS broadcast from Kathy McCabe was doing, and that was really nice. And so we've been texting, emailing back and forth since then. But if you have questions, always well worth it to get professional help. If you want, when you go to their website, use this code, BradsWorld. That's all you have to do, but it's case sensitive, so make sure there's a capital B and a capital W, no space. Just put BradsWorld, and when you book a consultation, they're going to give you a discount on that consultation. Nick, I can't tell you how happy I was to get these questions answered, because I didn't know I could move to Sorrento or the Amalfi Coast into a small town and pay 7%.
I know.
And I've been talking bad about the program because I just figure anything where the Italian government's trying to get you to do something can't be good for you.
There's a catch.
Yeah, there's a catch. There's got to be a catch. So I'm happy to hear that there are ways to make it very pleasant and to work out for people. So I hope it works out for anyone that's trying to do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it was a great time. And we're going to go enjoy Montepulciano. What do you think of my town?
It's beautiful. Every corner is it's a gem.
Yeah, next time he comes, he's actually going to stay. We're in one of my apartments right now filming
Love
this.
that.
It looks like a backdrop, but that's really the view.
It is real. I can
Yeah,
confirm.
oh, there goes a bird. So next time he'll stay with us. We hope you guys come and stay with us too. I want to thank you everybody for watching. We'll see you soon on Brad's World. Ciao.